And I'm so glad that you clicked on this video today. If you are a fresh college graduate, or you just got out of grad school, or you're just an early career individual in general, this video is for you. And welcome to my channel where we talk about everything teenage life, adulting, and lifestyle in general. So I'm very happy that you're here today, and I'm so glad that you clicked on this video today. Before I go on, quick story about myself. So I have been fortunate to experience being in a rotational program as well as having a permanent offer right off the bat. And so today I want to share with you guys from that experience. So if you are a fresh college graduate, or you just got out of grad school, or you're just an early career individual in general, this video is for you. So keep watching. All right guys, before we go on, for those of you that may not know what a rotational program is, a rotational program is a program that lets people move through different jobs and job functions as well as locations within the same company until they eventually settle on a permanent position within the company. So it's just a program that some companies have in place where an individual will go through different jobs before settling in one job. Okay, so how I'm going to do this video today, I will talk about the pros of both a rotational program and a permanent position off the bat, and then I'll talk about the cons of both. So stick with me guys, because I'm sure there's going to be some value for you, especially if you're trying to make a decision. So first and foremost, let's talk about the pros of a rotational program. So like I said, a rotational program is a program in which a company gives an individual, an employee, the opportunity to move around different job functions. So really, this is a big pro for rotational programs because you get to try out multiple and varied job functions within a short time, and also realize and have the opportunity to experience your areas of strength. So in general, I would say this is like the number one pro of a rotational program. The next is being able to move around and see new places. So if you're someone like me who likes to travel, I really love to travel to see new places. Now, this one would excite you because being in a rotational program, especially if you are in a company that has multiple facilities, some of them within the country, some of them outside of the country, like international locations, this is a great opportunity for you to actually see new places. And guess what? You don't have to pay for it. The company does. So that's a very great opportunity. And so that's one pro for rotational programs. Again, you get to travel and see new places and experience new things. Another one is you get to really expand your mind rapidly because you're like always in new spaces and just seeing out new things. And on the other hand, this eliminates boredom. So this is another pro. I'll call this another pro of being in a rotational program. And this leads into the next point, which is that you get to learn how to solve problems in rapid successions. And this also gives you a broader understanding of your industry. So being in the same company, obviously that's within the same industry, and then you have the opportunity to move through job functions. This definitely helps you to just have a broader perspective. And also because you have to learn very fast, because most rotational programs are usually like 6 to a year long, maybe sometimes a little over a year, but I think on the average I found that most rotational programs are between 6 to 12 months, and that's really a short time to spend on a job. So just being in that situation helps you to learn how to solve problems in quick successions so that you can make an impact in any role that you find yourself in. And that's a really huge skill. It's a skill that is very necessary for life and for your career in general. So that's a huge pro for being in a rotational program. Another one is that you get to learn leadership by influence. right? So being in a rotational program, you're probably going to be with your co-workers for a short period of time, and you're most likely not going to be their boss, but then you have to work with them to get the job done. And so this forces you to learn how to lead by influence. And trust me guys, this is one of the biggest leadership skills that you would need in life, especially as you grow through your career. So that's one big pro for being in a rotational program. Next, and last on my list here, in my experience, being in a rotational program, obviously again, this ties into the fact that I've had to work multiple job functions, and so I've had multiple bosses, and I've met my boss's bosses, and these have been different people. And so what I'm just trying to say is that being a rotational program gives you that increased visibility, and it gives you the opportunity to grow your network within a company, especially if it's a company that you really want to stay and build your career. This is a very, very great thing to have early on in your career, where you get visibility, because you get to work on multiple projects. People tend to know you because they probably heard your name last year working on X project, and then this year you've moved and you're working on Y project, and they're hearing your name again. And maybe the year after that, or like 6 months down the line, you're working on Z project, and people are hearing that, oh, this person is working on this project. So that just helps, that gives you the opportunity to gain visibility within the company. And I would say this here, even though you get to work with multiple people and you get the chance to meet many people within the company, it's in your power to actually grow your network. So like the fact that the program is just going to give you a platform to meet more people, but like I'd encourage you, if you're in a rotational program now, or if you're thinking of getting into one, is that when you get this chance to meet people because you're going to work on multiple teams, I'd encourage you to actually take the step and take the initiative to to grow your network. So be proactive about about building relationships with the people you work with, and don't just think that, oh, it's temporal, so I'm going to be out of here in 6 months, so what do I care? Actually, no, this is a huge opportunity for you to grow your network very deep and also very broad within the company. So that's all that I'm going to share today for the pros of a rotational program. I'm sure there's still more, but let's move on to the pros of getting a permanent position right off the bat, meaning coming out of school and getting your first job, or maybe not just out of school, maybe even if you're switching companies, but like getting your first job within the company as a permanent job title. So let's say job title is process engineer, or job title is like accounts representative, or your job title is like creative director. So basically you just have like that one job that you're getting, and you don't have the opportunity to move around. At least it's not in your contract up front. So the first one I would say, which I think is really huge, the first pro for getting a permanent job is that you get to be a subject matter expert. Now that's really huge, especially for people who are like, who are geeky, or who can be geeky, who really like to do one thing and just like pay attention to detail and dive deep. And this is not a bad thing. Like, if this is you, I think the most important thing here is just to be self-aware. So if this is you, by all means, if you get a permanent position, you get to be the subject matter expert, because you get to do the same thing over and over again, and you just grow those deep roots and expertise. And that's a great thing for your career, if that's where you see yourself being down the road. So that's the one pro, and that's a really big pro for getting a permanent position right off the bat. And the number two thing is that you get to do what you enjoy every day. Now, I'm saying this on the premise that you get a job that you like. So I'm hoping that you get a job that you like, and not just something just because it's available. And so if you get a job that you like, yeah, you get to do it every day. No one is going to ask you to leave after 6 months or 9 months. So that's a pro, that's a good thing. Another thing is that you get stability in a job function and as well as in a job location. So, especially if you're like settling down, starting a family, or just like buying a house and stuff like that, being in a permanent position just helps you get that stability to make all these other decisions around your job location. And that's also a good thing. Another pro that I'll say is that getting a permanent position affords you the opportunity to grow vertically, perhaps quicker within the company. And I'll give more context to this when I talk about the con of being in a rotational program. But essentially, a pro here of being in a permanent position is that you get maybe a quick opportunity to get promoted. And so guys, now let's go to the cons. Yeah, cons. I mean, every good thing always has a bad side, right? All right. So first, again, I'll talk about the cons of being in a rotational program. So guys, first thing, have you guys ever heard of the fact that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable? Yeah. That's what you get by being in a rotational program. Like, you literally have to take that. You have to take that phrase in literal terms, because you get to be uncomfortable very often. That feeling of like staying in a place or being on a job for like a year, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm beginning to get a hang of things. I know how things work now. And then like that, you're yanked off to your next job function. And then you get to be uncomfortable again because you're the one who doesn't know anything yet again. So that's definitely a con. But I mean, there are ways around this, right? Like I said, just kind of like take the phrase, just kind of like think about being comfortable. So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, then I'm sure you can overcome this one. Another con of being in a rotational program is that you may not be able to set long-term life goals in the short term. If you know what that means. So it's like, again, this is kind of the opposite of a pro of being in a permanent position where you kind of have like a stable environment. For being in a rotational program, you probably would just have to make do with certain short-term goals, like a year out, 2 years out, because you really might not be so sure where you might be in the next 6 months or 1 year, depending on how your company organizes the program. So that's kind of a con of being in this kind of program. Another con is that you probably only get to move laterally within the company for the period or for the duration of the rotation. So like, let's say, like in my experience, the company that I was doing rotation with had 3 rotations. So essentially you get to do like a year in each position. And for those 3 rotations, you probably are only going to move laterally. So like, even if you're changing job functions or changing locations, you're probably moving on the same kind of salary level. So you're not necessarily getting promoted. So it's like, some people might see it as, kind of being stagnant financially because you're not necessarily getting promotion. Whereas on the flip side, if you had a permanent position, I think for most companies within like 2 years, you could get promoted to a higher level, and a higher level, I guess, depending on your performance. But like being in a rotational program, you're probably only going to move laterally for the duration of the program, if that makes sense. But hey guys, that's not all doom, right? That might just be financially, but like you're really building skills and building skill sets that is probably beyond your years of experience, just because of the fact that you're getting all of this in a short time and you're seeing it from different people and different job functions. So that can also be managed depending on what your personal goals are. And the final con I have here is that, we all know that it's not easy to move, right? Let's be honest, that thing is stressful. So yeah, the stress that comes with having to move, that's definitely a con of being in a rotational program, because you have to kind of move frequently. Now again, this doesn't apply to all rotational programs, so you can just check with your company, because for some of them you can do the same job functions, you can do different job functions within the same location, but for others you probably have to change location. Like in my own experience, we didn't necessarily have to change locations, so like you could probably change locations for 1 of the 3 rotations, and then for 2 you could do them in the same location but with like different job functions. So sometimes it could be a little bit flexible. So but generally the stress of moving is kind of a con of being in a rotational program. So now let's talk about the cons of being in a permanent position right off the bat. One, tasks may get boring, right? I mean, if you keep doing the same thing, especially if your job is not all that exciting or you don't find it all that exciting, it can tend to be boring and you're kind of like stuck with it for a while. Of course, you can always, change jobs or change companies, but at least I'm talking in the context of you just maintaining that position. Things can really get boring, so that's a con. Another thing is you have less opportunity to grow a diverse skill set if you just get a permanent job off the bat. Again, with a rotational program, you're probably going to get work experience and skill set that is probably going to take someone in a permanent position maybe like 5 years to build, and you could probably compute that in like 2 or 3 years. Again, this is relative, right? It depends on the job, but speaking in general terms, you generally have less opportunity to grow diverse skill set because you tend to work on the same projects or the same kind of projects, maybe work with the same kinds of people, and so you tend to kind of reuse your skill set. Again, like I said, this also means that you get to grow subject matter expertise, but like you don't also get the opportunity to grow broader and a more diverse skill set by being in a permanent job off the bat. Another con of being in a permanent job is like you might take longer to find out what you're good at. So right, in a rotational program, you probably, because you're doing many things in a short time, if you're paying attention, you easily can tell what you're good at, how you felt in each role and what you like to do. But being in the same job is probably going to take you longer to find out what you're very good at and what you're really interested in, just because you don't get that many opportunities. You don't get that many opportunities to try out different things, to kind of filter through them. So that's definitely a con. And the final thing I had on my list is like you probably will also get less opportunity to network within the company and grow visibility, because like I said, you probably will only tend to interact with the same people either on your team or out of your team, or people in the same location. And so now this is not to say you cannot still be proactive about networking, because like I said, networking is really all about you. You have to go out, you have to put yourself out there and be proactive about it, but like you just don't really get as much opportunities as if you are in a rotational program. So guys, those are the pros and cons of each one. But I will say this, as always, I always like to give one little special tip at the end, and so here is the one for today. No matter what job function you're in, or if you're in a rotational program, or if you're in a permanent position, actually the most important thing for your career growth, or well, maybe not the most important thing, one important thing for your career growth is that try as much as possible to work on projects that have high-level business impact. I'll say that again. Try as much as possible to work, especially for early career individuals. You want to grow within the company, right? You want your name to be heard. You want everyone to know that you're doing a great job. So try as much as possible to work on projects that have high-level business impact. Project that you can kind of measure the impacts for your sake as well as for the company's sake. You're able to really contribute, so just to make that you're contributing positively to the overall company's development. So that's one tip I would say, and that's something you can do regardless of if you're in a rotational program or if you're in a permanent position. If you have the opportunity to choose your projects, always choose things that really are futuristic, or that really the company's customers are really interested in, and overall just have high-level business impact. So guys, I hope you've gotten something from this. Again, being in a rotational program or being in a permanent position, they are both wonderful opportunities. In fact, you just being able to go out there and shine is a wonderful opportunity. So regardless of what opportunity comes your way, or regardless of whatever you pick, just know that it's up to you to maximize the opportunity, grow your network, and make sure you get good at what you're doing to make yourself stand out. It's really just about a different personality, and you could use these tips, these pros and cons, as a guideline to know which works for you if you have to pick between either of those two. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you gained something from this. Feel free to add to this list in the comment section below. Tell me what some of your pros or cons are, and I'm sure some of us here have had many different experiences, different from what I've had. So please feel free to add to this list down below. And guys, please like this video. It's going to help me know what you like so that I can always give you content that's relevant to your needs. And also, please feel free to subscribe to my channel for more informative and interesting content like this one. See you guys in my next video. Bye.